It's Stefan Osborne here, the Wizard of No DQ. I'm with my good friend and new to NoDQ.com, Jerry Slaughter, the General. And the two of us have noticed there's been a vacancy in No DQ. There's been a void, a lack of NXT coverage, if you will. And we think NXT is a great show every week, and we've decided to do a review for you guys. We're going to do this week's NXT and last week's NXT. We're going to do 2 for 1 and see how this goes. If you guys like our show, let us know, and maybe we'll start doing this every week, make it a regular No DQ thing. But at the very least, we've had a great 2 weeks of NXT that I feel like is worth covering.
Absolutely. Like, top to bottom, from the 19th show and the 26th show, were just solid matches, solid build-ups to each of them. And I'm still kind of new to the NXT product. I know a lot of the wrestlers and everything, but at the same time, like, a lot of these folks are really new to me, and they were all just super impressive and delivered high-quality matches. So,
well, now you say that, but I noticed as we were watching the shows that you knew a lot more about some of these wrestlers than even I did, because you follow them on the indie scene.
Oh, yeah. That's what I found interesting, the blend, especially with the current champion, Ciampa. Like I mentioned, I'd seen him back in OVW a long time ago, back when he was doing this Rick Martel type thing. Just, he had the pink tights, he had the slick hair. He looked nothing like he does right now, and even then, after that, he did a short stint as a manager for Charles Hammer Evans and Justin the Ox LaRouche, who went on to be Bam Neely in WWE. And so it was really cool to see how he evolved from this. And then also we had the Undisputed Era, naturally. Adam Cole, O'Reilly, Roderick Strong. Roderick, I'm so happy to actually see him, and I can't wait to see him in action here in NXT as well, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So.
Right, so this is going to be a heavy show with two NXTs to cover, so we'll get right down into it. The first show from the 9/19 episode, or the first match, I'm sorry, from the 9/19 episode of NXT was a tag team women's match, actually. Dakota Kai and Deonna Purrazzo versus Aaliyah and Lacey Evans. And they actually started to build up to this, I believe, the week prior or maybe 2 weeks prior.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track because of their 2-week taping schedule. But they actually had it set up for this match. And what I like about NXT build-ups is that they don't typically end up being too long unless it's the 4 to 6 weeks before an NXT takeover. But somehow they still manage to make them feel genuine.
You actually get invested in the actual people in the matches versus them just being thrust together. This is what you're getting. That's what I found about the rivalries I'm already seeing in this company, is the fact that it's a slow build up, but at the same time everything is making sense.
Well, you have it interspersed. You have different threads. You have your slow build threads, like Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano. This feud has been building and building and building for years, but then, well, almost years. Yeah. But then you have short build feuds, but they still feel like they mean something, even if it's just something small that they play out in the backstage, like a little bit of disrespect. Somebody walks in on somebody's interview, or somebody's calling or talking about somebody else in their interview, and they happen to come out and approach them. These little things, it's just a little bit
of spotlight.
Yeah, it's just a little bit of storyline, but it gives you a reason to invest in the match, even if it's just a couple of weeks of the thing. So this was actually either made or hinted to with a backstage segment a couple weeks ago. But we had Dakota Kai and get pinned by Lacey Evans after a women's right. And I was telling him before the match that I didn't think her right hand was necessarily, it didn't look strong enough to be a finishing move. I personally think Alexa Bliss throws a better right hand, and it doesn't tend to be her finishing move.
Yeah.
But this one looked a little brutal.
It did, also with the fact you had the roll up right afterwards. Like pretty much it was that whiplash effect, and yeah, it was a solid finish to the match. But what really got me was Dakota Kai's kicks.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, he mentioned that during the match.
That woman could throw her legs. It was just sickening how hard those shots were landing.
Yeah, the spots with the face kicks in the corner, it changed his mind immediately about Dakota Kai. This was your first experience watching her, correct?
Yeah, I hadn't seen the Mae Young Classic or anything building up to this, so I not really had written her off as like a Bayley or like Daisy Hayes type ripoff, but like I was saying something like that, but then all of a sudden she just went all Samoa Joe on this chick. I mean, seriously, the kicks and then the face wash in the corner just.
She's quite surprising like that.
Beautiful, like the amount of force that she went with it and the angle and everything. It was just.
Well, part of her personality in the ring has changed in the last few weeks because of her feud with Shayna Baszler. Mm-hmm. Shayna Baszler kind of, I guess, toughened her up a little bit, gave her a little bit more of a ruthless edge because she needed that against Shayna Baszler, and now she has that going forward. So she's less of a sort of a Bayley kind of innocent looking character.
She's a little less poppy now. She's more poppy in the mouth.
But she still had those moves before, but even I noticed that she's a little more serious in the ring, I guess, is a way to put it. But yeah, she still lost. You know, just one of those things during a tag team match. It was a clean victory. She missed the blind tag that Lacey got in, and Lacey hit her with the woman's right and rolled her up right smack in the corner. So it was a fairly simple victory at that point.
Yeah.
After that, we had the Street Profits cut a promo. This via Snapchat. I thought that was interesting.
That's something that I felt has been missing a lot is, you know, the promos that they used to do in between, like, you know, matches and whatnot to build up a feud.
Well, you're going to get plenty of that watching NXT.
Especially back in the old WWF days, when you had, like, just middle of the match, you had, like, the little screen pop up on the bottom down there, and it had, like, somebody that they're embroiled in a feud with, like, talking trash, and they would just go away. But now you have, like, Snapchat, you have almost like a paparazzi type crew following these guys around back in. Like,
well, with Snapchat and Instagram and all that, you're your own paparazzi. You can create your own moments for that. And what I liked about it is that, you know, SmackDown and Raw have kind of been, I guess, testing or implementing at this point superstars doing their own promos with their phones, sort of like a Snapchat or an Instagram story or something like that. But they don't use Snapchat. They don't use Instagram. You know, they promote their Twitter. They promote their Facebook. But this one actually, you know, started off with Snapchat. And I guess
it actually started off with the their Snapchat addresses or handles and whatnot, and it was just brilliantly done, I thought.
So I'm glad they finally made the step, even if it was on NXT and not the main show. But you know, at least if you're going to rip it off...
Let's just hope they don't, like, you know, start overdoing it and letting everybody else do it.
So, I'm just hoping that the bubble letters on the screen that are mimicking what the person's saying don't make it to NXT. That's all I'm hoping with that.
No Snapchat filters.
So then we had an interview backstage with Bianca Belair about her match with Nikki Cross, where she basically just said Nikki Cross is crazy. Yes. But she is going to keep fighting, and she wants Nikki Cross again, apparently. And we come to find out later...
Nikki Cross wants more of her.
Yeah. So what did you think about Bianca Belair? Have you seen her in the Indies before?
No, I have not.
From what they've said on NXT, I guess she came right to WWE. Like, she is a prodigy, I guess.
She may have. Like, that's something else I found very interesting. They've got a lot of homegrown talent there, but at the same time, they've also got these ones that just seemingly caught on to wrestling so quickly and everything else that they had no choice but to get signed on and automatically go into training. Because you'll have those athletes, like the football stars, and everybody thinks they can just go right into pro wrestling. But then
or vice versa.
Yeah.
Brock Lesnar.
And then you have, like, your people that haven't even touched pro wrestling or even done anything in that manner, but at the same time, they just fit so well into it and are so versatile that it just kind of like becomes second nature to them. And I think that's what you have with Bianca Belair.
Well, maybe the first one that came to mind, and maybe it's a bad example, was Michelle McCool. You know, she was a teacher.
Yep.
But then so was Matt Stryker, and you know, teachers become pro wrestlers and they make it big in the business. And then you got people that, you know, they were athletes, they were star athletes, and they think, oh, this is going to be easy, but then they have no personality.
Well, that's the thing. That's the thing with Stryker. He was still teaching when he got hired on, or when he was still wrestling. He would actually use his sick days for going into pro wrestling matches, and that's why he eventually got caught. And WWE actually heard about that and looked him up, saw what he was doing, and brought him on. So.
Yeah.
That was just a lucky situation.
Maybe luck, or maybe, you know, WWE is always looking out for good PR.
Yep.
That's one thing we all know for sure.
Oh, they didn't go all Pac-Man Jones with it like TNA did, but like it's
Let's see if we can get, there we go. So next up we had basically an enhancement talent match, a squash match. It wasn't really a squash match.
He got a little bit of offense in.
Well, we had a Humberto Carrillo, and I hope I'm pronouncing that right. It's probably Carrillo. Yeah, Carrillo.
Carrillo.
Versus Jackson Riker, better known to a lot of people as Gunner from TNA, from the Forgotten Sons. And he looked really good in this match.
Oh yeah, he definitely had a great debut match, and more power to Humberto. He actually, I said it right bad. I don't like his hair, but if anything, yeah, he put up a great offense. But when you have somebody of the caliber of Jackson Riker, It's really hard to actually be putting that.
I just got that joke.
Because Gunner.
Nice pun. Yeah.
It's what I do.
It took me about 3 seconds. It hit when it hit.
But with him, yeah, he's well established. Like, people saw him and they know who he is. Like,
not everybody.
Well, not everybody, but
there's plenty of TNA and Impact haters out there. We all know this.
Yeah. And around that time is when they were really ridiculously financially struggling and whatnot, and there's such an influx with talent and everything moving to WWE and everything else. But like, him and James Storm were an awesome team, and they also had a great feud as well. But now he's here and just looks like he's in phenomenal shape, hasn't missed a step at all, and the slingshot powerbomb that he pulls off at the end of this match, it was beautiful. It was great. I was telling Stefan, though, anything that involves like a top rope or a slingshot or anything like that worries the crap out of me. Because like, you land on that rope wrong, especially the way that it's actually the tightness of the ropes that they have for NXT.
Oh, the tightness that they have for WWE, period.
Yeah.
If you look back into the Attitude Era, how loose the ropes were. They were so loose that wrestlers often got caught up with their arms in the ropes going over them, because they would get twisted up in the middle rope, come down, and they'd be hanging by their arm, and somebody would have to come release them. That's how loose the ropes were. But now they have all these high flyers.
They would try to like pass it off sometimes as part of the match.
Yeah, right.
But it actually,
you knew better.
But you knew better. You're like, something didn't go right there. But at the same time, they tried to play it off like it did. And
I'm not sure if it was the high flying moves that really caused them to tighten the ropes. My guess is it was Kane's exit from the ring.
Oh yeah,
because he basically made a take of a clothesline over the top rope every time he left the ring, you know, but by himself. So my guess is that might have had a little something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, with springboard moves becoming way more frequent up until now, where AJ Styles' finishing move is a springboard forearm.
Yeah, the phenomenal forearm.
Where it does require tighter ropes. But yeah, I agree with the sentiment, but there's certain moves. I think a power bomb off the top rope is safer than a power bomb onto the apron.
Oh yeah.
So I didn't really cringe at the idea of him coming off the rope. I just thought that, I don't know, I wasn't really impressed with the idea of that as a finisher.
Yeah, I was about to say the setup of it and everything was good, but at the same time, like, it looked more like a jackknife than anything, because Jackson just kind of there wasn't any kind of last ride type thing to it or anything.
It was so formal and basic.
It was.
I mean, it was executed as a perfect power bomb, a perfect springboard power bomb, but it was just it was uninspired to me, and to me, it's more like a signature. It's more like the thing he would do to set up his opponent.
Absolutely, that is definitely like more of a setup move, and maybe into not really a submission, but enough to keep the opponent dazed enough that they can stand up and get nailed with something else.
Well, now he's a pretty jacked guy. Yeah. I would think my first thought in this is go from a power bomb off the top rope onto the mat, and then with I would think he's powerful enough for at least most of his opponents. He could pick them up from there for a second power bomb, and maybe that could be enough of a signature style in order for it to be a finish.
That'd be excellent, like the old triple power bombs that Brock Lesnar used to pull, because he would just he would just power bomb the dude, pick him back up, and then power bomb again. But if he actually nailed it a little bit quicker, and probably just do that one, possibly sit out if he's trying to go for a quick win or something. Nail him with a sit out power bomb, almost like a Batista bomb type thing. That'd probably look a lot better, but this just looked like I'm gonna bounce you on your rope. I'm gonna flip you around. I'm just gonna.
Yeah, I mean it was perfectly executed. It just had no flavor.
It had no flash.
So I think we're both agreed he either needs to tweak or improve or work on the finisher, or find a whole new finisher. Something that looks more like something that not everybody else is going to be doing.
Yeah.
I guess. But still a good match, and for me, Humberto Carrillo he was forgettable, but he's supposed to be. So I guess he did his job. Next up, we had an interview with Candice LeRae by William Regal. He was basically interrogating her, I guess, for lack of a better word, about Johnny Gargano. Yeah. He didn't want to know where she was or what she saw, because she didn't see anything, and they knew all of that. He wanted to know what she had to say about where Johnny Gargano was.
Yeah, and with that, I'm still, like I said, relatively new, so I'm catching on to this whole whodunit kind of story, which every company needs something like that. Like, I don't care what kind of like storylines you have going and everything. If you have that kind of mystery kind of thing going, there's always going to be that to fall back on, and there's going to be a huge twist. I already have my suspicions on who attacked Aleister Black.
We will get to that.
We'll get to that here in a little while.
So stay tuned.
But after, like, that whole sequence was just pretty much her saying she doesn't know anything. He was with her.
Well, she kind of gave him an alibi, but she said that he told her to stay put, and he went to the men's locker room to clean up after his match. But I guess that insinuates that she's assuming he was in there, but that doesn't necessarily mean he was.
That's the look Regal gave her, was the fact that it's like, okay, so this is what we're going by, what you're telling us, but you're also going by what he said.
I might be skipping ahead a little bit here, but I think the fact that everybody, even Velveteen Dream, everybody is pointing their finger at Tommaso Ciampa. There is no possible way this ends up with it being Tommaso Ciampa.
No.
There's no possible way. I got to give Triple H a little bit of credit to come up with something more.
Well, you got to remember this too, and this just came to mind. Especially with Triple H, because there's that whole sequence a while back, or quite some time ago, that had somebody run over Stone Cold Steve Austin, and all the fingers are pointing at Triple H.
Right, yeah.
But then, out of all the people,
it was Rikishi.
It was Rikishi, because he were like, oh, he's blonde.
I think in hindsight, though, most people look at it and think, even though Triple H was the obvious suspect, it still would have been better than Rikishi, because Rikishi made no damn sense at all.
No, he didn't. I think that was a last ditch effort, because like Rikishi was saying, he did it for The Rock and all that other stuff, but at the same time, it not only did it not make much sense at all, and was really just corny and stupid, it also put Rikishi in a heel role, which he didn't fit into at all. They even had to put "I'm a bad man" in his theme song, just to show people, hey, you're supposed to boo him. Boo, you're bad.
No, they didn't want to boo. Nobody wanted to boo Rikishi. Rikishi was over as a babyface so hard.
Nobody could really boo Rikishi anyway. They hated the gimmick, and after a while, they just kind of got rid of it. And I'm glad they kind of did.
Yeah, so. WWE kind of tends to just quietly move along from things sometimes, but we're not here to review WWE. We're here to review NXT. Up next, at least for that show, the show 2 weeks ago. Or I'm sorry, a week ago.
Yeah.
Excuse me, I burped. I apologize. This was the highlight of the show.
Oh my god.
I mean, it had to be. It was the main event. It was a good, 20-25 minutes.
Yes.
This was Ricochet versus Pete Dunne for both the WWE UK Championship and the NXT North American Championship.
Yes.
And I said going into this match, there is no possible way that either man walks out with both belts. Because one, neither man needs to lose right now clean. And two, neither man needs both belts right now. They're fine.
Because with that, it almost feels like unification, and the North American belt is still relatively new to NXT, as is the New England or the England Championship. So.
Well, that one we know is at least a year old, because we know that Pete Dunne has held the belt thus far for over a year.
Yeah.
So we were chatting about this match well before the ending on how it could possibly end, where neither man wins and neither man loses, kind of. And your response was
the
Undisputed Era.
Undisputed Era would interfere since he had dropped. Adam Cole had dropped the belt to Ricochet, and this way it would have caused a disqualification and more or less killed the match. But we were both in the same frame of mind, like, this is becoming a classic. They can't do this. There has to be some sort of resolution here.
At this point, we're more than halfway through the match.
Yes.
It has already become the match of the week, if not the match of the month. And my frame of mind is, I was trying to give Triple H more credit than he deserves, because I was thinking that is the predictable ending of this match. We're going into a title versus title match. You can't give the UK Championship to Ricochet because he's not from the UK or a foreign country, and sure you can. But I don't think they're trying to do that right now.
I think if they were to have done that, the King Ricochet thing probably would have worked.
That would be fun. Yeah,
because he tries speaking the British accent.
He pointed out he still got the KR on his vest, on his long angel wing vest. And he still got the Twitter handle King Ricochet. He said King Ricochet, and he said it was on the title card, and I'm like, no, I had to back it up. And I'm like, oh, that's his Twitter handle, man. I thought you meant they were actually calling him King Ricochet now. I was like, when did this happen? But no, he's still just Ricochet in NXT, and he is fucking incredible.
He never ceases to amaze me. I've been watching him since Combat Zone Wrestling. Him and Chuck Taylor, their feuds have been legendary and whatnot, but watching him evolve, and if you've never seen his double moonsault, is like a thing of beauty. He's actually able to pull 2 full rotations off the top rope with a moonsault.
Are you wait? No, that's his finisher, isn't it? It's not a moonsault. It's a 450, but it's a double 450 senton.
But yeah, he's actually able to.
But he does a double moonsault too.
Double moonsault as well.
I highly doubt they're going to let him.
Maybe, they won't let him do it in WWE.
Maybe once he's on the main roster at a WrestleMania in a really big match, they'll let him pull out the double moonsault. But we saw what happened when they let Brock Lesnar pull off a single moonsault, so they might not be okay with that.
You just read my mind. All I saw was Angle rolling out of the way and Brock Lesnar landing on his head.
But one thing we both marked out for right off the beginning of this match is, and I said, finally, there's somebody from Kentucky, because we're recording this in Kentucky. We live in Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Finally, there's somebody from Kentucky that's not just from Louisville. He's from Paducah. And they actually say he's from Paducah. And that was fun. But the match was even more fun. What was your favorite part of this match?
Well, my favorite part was watching Pete Dunne just systematically attack Ricochet's left hand. Like, just...
The stomps.
You see, not just the stomps, the bends. The bends are the worst.
He can attest to this. I was cringing. I was like, oh... I mean, just some of the... I'm thinking about him now, and it's making me cringe.
The camera work on this was beautiful because, like, it was right in there, and you saw Ricochet's fingers pretty much touching the back of his hand.
And there's some of these moves that they pull off that you can be like, yeah, it looks like it hurts, but I can also see, especially with double jointed people like Alexa Bliss, things like that. This... Even if you are double jointed, this still looked like it hurts so bad.
With submission wrestlers, I'm so used to watching them go after the leg or the arm.
Yeah, big joints.
Big joints. Pete was systematically destroying this hand. So if he could put the hand in an abdominal stretch, I think he would have.
Yeah, that's basically what he did. And Ricochet's middle finger, it's just ironic, I guess, but his middle finger must have been killing him at the end of that match.
Well, like,
Jesus.
Basically, at this point, if Ricochet puts his hand up to a light like he usually does, the light's going to be like, ooh.
Yeah, between Pete Dunne putting on a cringing classic and Ricochet just like...
bouncing back repeatedly
and hitting moves that just you wouldn't imagine somebody that's gotten beat up that bad could hit, let alone anybody hit it. Really, I mean, Ricochet's amazing.
Oh, like
that springboard, it was like the front flip springboard into it looked like it was going to be a reverse forward DDT, but then he reversed it in the air, came back with a regular DDT. We replayed that at least twice, I think.
Yeah, and just Dunne landing right on his head and just like falling right, like he was. You actually saw him actually checking his neck at that point and barely was able to sit up because he nailed him with that much torque, and that's the thing we were talking about a lot. It's the fact that Ricochet, he's a flashy wrestler. Yes, he can pull off these aerial moves and whatnot, but he pulls them off with enough torque and enough force that it almost comes off almost like a power move every time, because like he's got so much speed and so much quickness to it and so much snap that before you even like realize what's going on, your head is pretty much cracked on the mat and you're looking up at lights like, what the hell just happened? But the huge seller of the match that pretty much had us just popping out of our chairs, the Super Frankensteiner.
Oh, wow.
Granted, I knew Ricochet could do it. I was more concerned with the fact that NXT let him do it. Because that is such a dangerous move.
Well, I mean, you gotta think for Pete Dunne, it can't be any worse than like a Randy Orton top rope suplex.
Yeah.
In fact, it's probably a little bit better because he's almost completely controlling his own leap and descent.
Yeah.
But Ricochet, man, teetering on just the horizontal rope, not the corner, just the rope there at the corner, and sometimes those ropes don't look tight enough, man. And it took a little extra long for the setup. So for me, the setup kind of diminished it a little bit because I was like, there's only so long you can stand up there like that and suspend the disbelief.
Well, that's the thing. That's what kind of took me out of it for a second.
But after it was executed.
Yeah, there was so much whispering, it looked like, going on between the two, like, please don't let us die, please don't let us die.
He's like, if you don't make it, man, I love you. I love you, bro.
Pretty much, that's how it was. And there's enough hair there that they could have had a full-blown prayer conversation. But at the same time, they nailed it. It was beautiful. And that's when just about everything went to pot at that match.
I mean, if you don't know what we're talking about, if you're like, what are you talking about? All Frankensteiners are top rope. No, not all Frankensteiners are top rope. Most Frankensteiners are middle rope.
Yes.
They set their butt on the top rope, but their feet are on the middle rope, and then they do the Hurricane Rana.
Yes.
This was both parties standing on the top rope.
Yes.
Full stand, full Hurricane Rana. It was fucking amazing.
It was like they had to have gone maybe, I wouldn't say steel cage height, but close enough to it, like just launching themselves into the middle of this ring, and it was just a beautiful, beautiful landing. It was very crisp, and it just looked amazing.
So we go from these heights, and the match sort of evolves down from there until both men are on the mat. I believe Ricochet was the last to hit a big move. What was the move? It might have been that springboard DDT.
Yeah.
I can't remember, but they're both on the mat, and the way he called it, here comes the Undisputed Era, all three of them, they come down, double disqualification or no contest, however it ends up being. They beat them both up, and we end with kind of a non-finish to... But there really couldn't be a finish. There was no reason for either title to switch hands.
Yeah, the belts get handed to their respective owners. There's like this lingering stare off, like we're not done yet.
And for a first match of a series, if they aren't done yet, this was an instant classic.
It's gonna be hard. It's gonna be hard to top it.
So since this is the main event of the show, or at least last week's show, I gotta ask. I think we're gonna make this a weekly thing. I think I just decided upon this. You had an instant classic between Ricochet and Pete Dunne.
Mm-hmm.
Champion versus champion, both titles on the line.
Yeah.
Screw finish. So where in the General's 5 stars, where does General Slaughter rate this match?
Definitely, I'm gonna go ahead and say at least 4.5. Because, like...
Still a 4.5?
Yes, still 4.5, because everything about that match was perfect. Like, the reversals, the submission holds on the ground, like... Pete was completely ground and pound with Ricochet, which
there was
is
no breaks in this match.
There was no slow,
no miscommunication, no mess ups. I mean, I didn't see one. There might have been one, but if there was, it was so fluid that
I was just so hurt by the finish, by the fact that there wasn't that resolution there. That's the only reason it probably got bumped down to 4.5.
So let's give it a clean finish. Give it a clean finish.
Give it a clean finish. That would have been 5, maybe even if I could somehow pull off a 6-star match.
I don't know. It wasn't in the Tokyo Dome, man. I don't know if you're allowed to give it a match 6 stars. It's not the Tokyo
Dome. But it was one of those matches that was stolen the show, like at WrestleMania or anything else, but you had it right on television on NXT.
If that had a legitimate finish, that could have been a main event. I mean, if any two people other than those two could have pulled off the same match, I don't think they could. But even those two, in let's say 3, 4, 5 years' time, moved up to the main roster, given proper pushes, given a proper build-up and storyline into WrestleMania, that match could have been a WrestleMania match.
If they keep going the route they're going and keep like at least that level of respect / feud going, this could easily be the this generation's version of Steamboat and Savage. Because
I think you mentioned that during the match. Yeah.
Yes, or actually I'd said Steamboat Flair.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
And because those guys wrestled everywhere, like maybe five times a week.
My problem with a comparison like that is I don't think you could compare Pete Dunne to anybody.
No.
And there's very few people that you could compare Ricochet to,
like,
let alone from the past. There's nobody from the past that you could compare Ricochet to.
Both of them are so evolved in their craft. The ground and pound submission style of Pete Dunne is it's just something you really don't see very often in the bigger brands or whatnot. And you have Ricochet's high flying and quick offense and everything that he just makes look he just makes it look effortless. That's what I'm waiting for. Like, eventually Ricochet is going to get the call up, and if it's to SmackDown and it's versus AJ Styles, my head may explode.
Oh, but then maybe it's to 205 Live and it's against Leo Rush. My plan is to enjoy Ricochet and Pete Dunne and all of the other fine talent in NXT while they're in NXT and hope for the best when they get called up, but I'm not going to expect
history has shown that
otherwise.
Because there's that glass ceiling. But we're not going to get into that.
No, I think I think I'll I don't think I'm going to agree with you at 4.5 stars. I think for me, if it was a kooky finish, a non-finish, 4.5 stars would be fine. But the fact that it was such a predictable non-finish, I mean, we called it less than halfway through the match. Mm-hmm. You called it. I mean, I was thinking it, but
you're a believer. You're like this
I wanted something different. I wanted, at the very least, a double count out or a double 10 count, or he even said maybe there will be a double pin, something like that, where it's weird.
Like Pete would have him in a submission while at the same time like have his shoulders to the mat, and maybe another referee comes out and says, hey, his shoulders were on the mat. Hey, he tapped out at the same time.
Something controversial, something to drag it out. The only thing that came of this, the only thing, I guess, purposeful, the reason behind it probably is it turns the feud from one Ricochet versus Pete Dunne back to either individually versus the Undisputed Era or collectively. And we discussed this, the possibility of a return tag team match with O'Reilly and Strong, or he said, a possible triple threat match.
Triple threat match, possibly.
Possibly, and we will discuss that possibility here soon. Let's go ahead and get into... Oh, I give it 4.25 stars. I'm going to take off 1/4 of a star for such a predictable ending, even though I understand sort of why they did it. I didn't like it. I hate... Sometimes it's
when you have a product like NXT that's supposed to be different from the other brands and whatnot, you don't expect to have you're not supposed to have any expectations going into.
You're not supposed to be able to predict it.
No,
because it's supposed to be different, man. And I told him during the match. I told him I was like, no, you're crazy, man. They're not going to interfere. If this was Raw, absolutely they're going to interfere. But this is NXT, and sure enough, they interfered. So let's get away from last week's episode. Great match for me. I hated the ending, and that took 3/4 of a star off the match. I probably would have given it 5 stars if it had a just and a fair ending.
A solid finish.
Finish would have been that would have been match of the year for me. I think that would have been match of the year so far. That's how good of a match that was. Good grief, because you went from cringing at what Pete Dunne was doing to just
jaw dropping
out of your seat watching Ricochet do what he does, and it was great. So let's move on to tonight's. Well, for us it's tonight, sort of yesterday. It's early in the morning for us. We are both second shift. We got off work at 11 o'clock.
It's 3 o'clock right now.
Yeah, it's late. so maybe we should get this over quickly so we can get some sleep between here and work tomorrow. So we started off NXT this week with Regal coming to the ring, and presumably to talk about the ongoing investigation into who attacked Aleister Black and laid him out. I tell you what I like about that storyline, though. They took an injury, and instead of just letting the guy go and be injured, or doing a quick write-off where you explain that he's injured somehow, like they did with Dean Ambrose in that piece of that box equipment box that they slammed, whatever. Yeah. They've actually taken him getting injured and turned it into a long-term storyline. Mm-hmm. I enjoy that, but it didn't actually end up necessarily being about that, because then we had the Undisputed Era come out, and what did Adam Cole call Regal? He called him a second-rate Sherlock Holmes,
yes,
something like that.
And I believe it was Roderick that said, "I like that show." I'm like, he is aware that was a book first, right?
So basically, Undisputed Era comes out, and they want to attack Regal verbally, of course, for not doing his job, paying more attention to the investigation about Aleister Black than what's going on.
Adam Cole's sour about not having his rematch and whatnot, but at the same time, Regal's quick enough to point out to him that they attacked after the match.
And he didn't ask for a rematch, he said.
He didn't ask for a rematch, for one. 2, they attacked after a match. And 3, he thinks Cole was just waiting for Dunne to just soften him up so he can just... Yeah. Easy picking.
Easy pickings. So Dunne softens him up. They end the match to make sure that Ricochet keeps the title. And then now he wants a rematch so that he can take a softened up Ricochet and get his title back.
Yes.
And we also had Strong and O'Reilly complaining about the War Raiders running roughshod or running amok, stalking them, attacking them, and they feel unsafe. This right after they attacked Ricochet and Pete Dunne after the match.
What was that? Third-rate Viking cosplayers?
Third-rate Viking cosplayers.
It's like, oh great, it's just like, oh yeah, let's just go ahead and antagonize them.
Well, this basically culminated in Regal calling him out, and basically he says, in 2 weeks' time, we're going to have a triple threat match with Adam Cole and Ricochet and Pete Dunne, all for the North American Championship. And in 3 weeks' time, we're going to have a tag team championship match between the Undisputed Era Roderick Strong and Kyle O'Reilly versus the War Raiders.
Yes. But both are going to be, I can already see, being phenomenal matches, especially with triple threat rules. Because triple threat, there really are no rules. There's gotta be a winner in a triple threat match. I've seen matches with triple threats like turn into TLC matches. I've seen interference. That's something I would have found interesting if they had turned that into a triple threat ladder match for the belt instead. Because then you have like Cole, who's also kind of the aerialist, but he's more of a technical kind of guy, and then you have Pete Dunne, who's just like submissions expert, and then you have Ricochet, who's just...
Well, I don't know if you know the North American Championship, the first champion was decided in a 6-person ladder match at NXT TakeOver. Okay, so you do know that much.
Yes.
For me, I think it's a little too soon to do another ladder match for the North American Championship, unless you're setting a precedent that is one of the matches that is most often used for that title. Like you can defend the title in a regular match or triple threat or whatever regular rules or other rules, but most of the time in a big match situation, for some reason, that's the title that you defend in a ladder match.
Yeah, that's what
be a weird precedent, though.
Granted, I know we're trying to stick with NXT, but at the same time, that's one of the things that bothers me about Hell in a Cell. Because, like, that's supposed to be the match that ends a feud, more or less.
Oh, Aaron Roof would love you. But he has plenty of problems with that Hell in a Cell.
But back in the day, if you, like, especially if you're in a blood feud or anything with anybody, the steel cage match was the end all be all to anything.
And the ladder match was the match that you used when there was screwy finishes, where now we just want to make sure there's only one way to win. You climb the ladder, you pull down the belts.
Yes. So now you have the Hell in a Cell, which has become almost standard. Like, you see more Hell in a Cell matches than you do just regular steel cage matches.
Almost, I would think, yeah.
And, like Elimination Chamber, that thing is about extinct. I can.
Well, they have the pay-per-view, and that's another thing Aaron hates, and I agree. I totally agree. Pay-per-views with the stipulation built into the name of the pay-per-view, Hell in a Cell, TLC, Elimination Chamber, these kind of matches should be organic to the storyline. They should come because of a need in the feud, not because they have to have one because that's the name of the pay-per-view.
There has to be a legitimate rivalry going on and enough, bad blood between the two opponents that they'd actually want blood, even though they really don't have much blood.
So I feel like you're strengthening my argument, but at the same time strengthening yours. Because you're saying that because of the 3 participants in it, it makes sense for it to be a ladder match. But I'm saying so close to the original ladder match, you don't want to set a precedent that's kind of the match that you use to settle.
That and with the Undisputed Era, like there's more of a chance of foul play, especially with a ladder match, because it's like you usually have them distracting while Adam Cole goes up and gets the belt. So, but yeah, the idea of the just triple threat match in general between the 3 for the North American title.
It's salivating, man.
You could put it
salacious.
You could put them pretty much in the middle of a ball pit, and these guys are going to put on an awesome match. So
on a trampoline, you
put them in a trampoline in the middle of like BFE. And they're gonna kill it. So it's gonna be an interesting match in 2 weeks.
I tell you, between that match, from what I saw between Ricochet and Pete Dunne, and what I saw between Ricochet and Adam Cole, and then the tag team championship match the next week, which my guess is going to be recorded on the same night down in Full Sail.
Yep.
It makes me wish I could take some vacation, drive down to Florida, and go see that taping. Because from what I've seen from Kyle O'Reilly and Roderick Strong together, and what I've seen from the War Raiders as they've been kind of coming up through NXT, that's going to be an amazing match too.
Well, you have Strong and O'Reilly that are just tag team specialists. Strong going way back to Generation Next with Austin Aries and Alex Shelley and a whole bunch of great guys that he used to team up with. And then you have Kyle O'Reilly, who came up with Bobby Fish and Red Dragon in Ring of Honor. And they were Ring of Honor champions for a long time. They were kind of a dark horse team. And they just ran roughshod over people for the longest time because they were just that good together.
Yeah, because they don't look like two guys that would be like a dominant tag team. They don't look like two guys that would be dominant singles wrestlers.
No, they're not. But then when you combine the two forces together, it all just kind of makes sense. The yin and the yang, and just boom. And they definitely caught lightning in a bottle when it came to Fish and O'Reilly. I think you've got the same kind of magic going with Strong and O'Reilly. So that match is going to be... It's going to be brutal.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to call that match. Yeah. Well, not call, but review that match. So hopefully we'll still be doing this in 3 weeks. Or, 2 weeks for that one. Mm-hmm. Now, speaking of Fish and O'Reilly, do you think that there is going to be some tension, some let's say, some Undisputed Era crumbling tension when Fish gets cleared to wrestle again? Or do you think it's going to end up Freebird rules like it's been with Adam Cole? I think, was it Fish? Or no, it was when Fish first got injured and Adam Cole stepped in to help O'Reilly defend before Roderick turned on Dunne and ended up joining, and now he's kind of officially the other half of the tag. But I think they've set the precedent. There's still the Freebird rules in there, if need be.
I think also what could happen with that, and I just thought just popped in my head as well. Once Fish returns, I think there's actually going to be tension within the group anyway, because I'm going to say this right now. This is my prediction for the triple threat match. Adam Cole's not going to walk away with the belt. I think O'Reilly and Strong are going to manage to somehow keep the tag titles. And when Fish returns, yeah, they'll probably be doing the Freebird rule, but then it's going to be this thing where it's like, okay, we have 4 members, and we have we pretty much have the Freebird rule, which only really applies to 3.
Well, yeah, but Adam, I think to your point, Adam Cole is more interested in singles championships. And I think what you're saying is Adam Cole's going to get jealous of the tag team titles.
I think he's interested in having gold in general, okay. and the fact that like Fish comes back into the fold, I think they're going to gear
cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, pretty much, and I think it's going to culminate possibly with Adam Cole getting either turned on or turning his back on the team. And getting the boot or walking out, and that's going to set him up for maybe even a face run, since he's already got so much crazy heat to him right now. Anyway,
I guess if written correctly, you could turn him face by having him turn on them. But usually, when somebody turns on somebody, it's
I don't think he'll turn on them. I think they'll turn on him, and
okay.
that way they play the whole sympathy card.
So you could sell the angle looking like he's going to turn on them because of jealousy, but then they twist it at the end and they end up turning on him.
Yeah.
Because he's such a jealous bitch.
Yes.
Maybe. I don't know. I don't know. They're probably not going to write that into the storyline.
But I can totally see that happening, and not much longer from that, he'll probably get called up to the main roster.
Well, yeah, if he splits from them, I could see that happening real quick. I could see that be the reason that he splits from the Undisputed Era, just to call him up without having to call the whole group up at the same time. So let's move on from that was just our ramble
first week.
Yeah, that was the first segment of the second week. Like that was our 20-minute tirade on the Undisputed Era. And those two, but that's how much I'm looking forward to those 2 matches. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad they split it up into one week and one the next.
Well, I said first week because like that's where everything kind of started off, and then just went into the second week.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah. Well, I guess if you had both of those championship matches on the same show, it'd be a 2-match show. Yeah. You'd start the show with 1 match, it'd be 30 minutes. Then you end the show with the second match, and it'd be 30 minutes. So yeah, I'm glad that they've split that into 2 separate weeks. My guess is each match will be the main event of each show.
Yeah.
Next, we had a press interview. Well, sort of press. It was one person holding the mic, one person holding the phone. An interview with Johnny Gargano out back, I guess, out in the parking lot as he's coming in or maybe leaving. I don't know. Apparently, he's going to wrestle next week.
Yeah,
that's what it sounded like.
He said he's going to come back. He's got a brand new focus to him. He had to take a week or 2 off just to get his head straight.
Yeah, get his head straight.
So that's going to be interesting to see, because Gargano's just one of those guys where you can't really read him, so you don't know really what's going on in his head. But it's going to be interesting television. I can say that much. And then he had a little bit of a confrontation.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to mention, it was kind of weird because the previous week when Regal was interviewing or interrogating Candice LeRae, she casually mentioned that her and Johnny Gargano were trying to separate their personal life and their professional life. Mm-hmm. But then suddenly, so at the end of this interview with Johnny Gargano, he kind of catches up with Candice LeRae, and they're, like I said, they're either walking to the building or from, I'm not sure. But they're walking.
It looked like they were just walking out of the building.
And coming out of the building was Lacey Evans. She comes out and, I guess, picks a fight with Candice LeRae to the point to where she goes to, like, caress Johnny Gargano's arm. Mm-hmm. And Candice LeRae she takes offense. She swats her away. What the are you doing?
Yeah, oh, she basically almost went Springer, and Gargano's like, she's not worth it. She's not worth it. We just go ahead and go. We don't need to be doing anything. Let's just get out of here.
Yeah. So I can see this. This is either going to be a match next week, or my better guess is, because we've got the 2 title matches the week after and the week after that, that next week what we're going to see is a recap of that happening, and then it's going to pull up a graphic that says William Regal has made this match for next week. So we'll probably see that the same week as we see the triple threat match for the NA title.
or at least like probably Candice LeRae will have a match where
maybe Lacey Evans comes in.
Lacey interferes or keeps her distracted enough that she loses in a match or something of that nature. But yeah, this feud is just starting, and it's going to get interesting.
Yeah, I dig these characters. The only thing I don't really, and I mentioned this to him during the tag match from last week's episode. The only thing I don't like about Lacey Evans is her gimmick is it's a little inspired, I guess, but at the same time, it's so old in era that it's hard for me to wrap around that this isn't just a character.
Yeah.
Like, to me, like, I have to take a wrestler seriously to a certain extent. And her character doesn't, to me, it seems like a serious character at heart, but the outfit she comes out with is like, who dresses like that? Are you going to a convention?
The thing with her is you look at her and you kind of think, okay, this is going to be the Southern Belle type. Like you would expect some sort of Southern twang, or maybe like, you know, a little more condescension in her voice. But she doesn't have that. She's just, I won't say stale, but she's like very. She just doesn't give off the vibe that you think with that kind of character,
yeah,
or at least that kind of wardrobe with it, and
yeah, I like the character, not the wardrobe. I think there's probably got to be 80s, 90s, early 2000s version of that idea of an independent, powerful woman. Because I think that era was the era when women, it was the suffragette movement, you know, when women got the right to vote.
That's what
I think that's the idea behind it.
That's something that actually popped in my head when we were sitting there watching that first match. And, like, the whole women's rights thing.
You know, that girl with the right hand up in that famous poster. I can't remember what the words are on the poster.
Yeah.
Sorry. I swear I'm not misogynist. I can't remember. But it's very famous, and I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about. She's got her sleeve rolled up. You know, she's flexing her bicep, maybe, or
the riveter.
Like the riveter, yeah. And she's got the bandana on. So of course I'm a fan. I just can't remember what the tagline is on it. But yeah, that's my only problem with Lacey Evans. But
it'd be cool for her to actually have, like, instead of like that right hand, or maybe have the right hand be a finish set for it, have an actual like a submission called the suffrage. How awesome would that be for a submission finishing move name would be the suffrage.
The suffrage,
and maybe make it like a House of Pain.
Well, I think she needs something, because I'm not a big fan of her finisher anyway.
Yeah, the right hand.
It's a great name, not an inspired finisher.
Yeah, the like, it doesn't even have the equivalent of Stephanie's slap.
Yeah, okay? Stephanie's slap echoes. You know?
You get a lot of muster on that.
Now, like I said, last week's women's right, okay, it looked good, but even still, it's less, to me. It's less than a belly to belly.
I think it's how somebody takes it though too. Like,
oh yeah, she took it very well. She sold that great.
If you're just in a standstill kind of thing, it's gonna look bland.
Well, Dakota Kai does the limp body sell so good. She falls that dancer guy that can just like look like he goes boneless.
Yeah, she
falls like that, and she's very good at that sell.
She's very Van Damme-ish in her selling.
For me, I'm pretty sure Lacey Evans has faced Candice LeRae on NXT within the last several months. I'm pretty sure, because I did like an 8 or 9 week catch up.
Yeah.
To NXT before NXT Takeover Chicago. I'm pretty sure that happened less than 4 or 5 months ago. But anyway, hopefully, if it did, they call reference to that when this match happens again.
Oh yeah, they'll have it in the montage.
Not necessarily, but hopefully something. Next, we had a backstage interview with Velveteen Dream. I believe we had one with Velveteen Dream on the previous show, but we didn't mention it. It didn't seem worth mentioning.
No, this one actually had a little more depth to it.
Yeah, again, Velveteen Dream is insinuating that Tommaso Ciampa is And that's, again, why I say there's no way Tommaso Ciampa attacked Aleister Black.
Like, Velveteen Dream, like, I had heard a lot about the guy, and I saw, like, clips and whatnot of his feud that he had building with Ricochet going into their match.
Oh, man. All you need for Velveteen Dream is 3 matches.
Yeah.
You need TakeOver Chicago, you need TakeOver Brooklyn, this past one, and the match between him and Aleister Black. Watch those 3 matches, and those 3 alone, and I bet you if you can find them on YouTube and watch them, I bet you by the time we do this next week, you will be a full-fledged Velveteen Dream fan.
Well, I already kind of am, just from his persona in general, because he
This man hasn't even seen him wrestle yet.
He's
fucking brilliant.
I've seen
Velveteen Dream is brilliant. Aaron Riff says it best. He is ready now. I mean, he can, since he's so young, he can stand to stay in NXT for another 2 or 3 or year or 2, or even 2 or 3 years. He's so young. I mean, he's like, what, like 22, 23? He's so, or maybe even younger than that. He's super young.
Yeah.
So he's got nothing but time, but he's already ready. That's the thing. He doesn't really, I don't know if he has the name value yet for WWE, but then again, I don't know if anybody that's grown and born in NXT really does.
But he, from what I gather, he's got some great athleticism to him and whatnot, and also the fact that his persona that he has right now is very reminiscent for me of earlier Elijah Burke and Chris Jericho. He's got that brashness, he's got that cockiness, but then he also, like,
he's got swag.
He's got the triple I, almost like Prince type thing going on.
Yeah, he's totally sort of a knockoff of Prince. You got to give him that, but he pulls it off so well, and so, like, it's personal to him. Like, it's not like he's ripping off Prince necessarily. He's just inspired by.
Yeah, like he's no the artist formerly known as Prince. I can't, but
yeah, he's no artist formerly known as Goldust. Although Goldust seems to be to me to be the only person or predecessor that we could compare him to in his feminine persona. And I'll say it. I mean, it's a feminine persona.
Yeah.
I don't think he's trying to portray himself as possibly gay or transgender or anything like that.
Just extremely flamboyant.
But, yeah, feminine, flamboyant. But he pulls it off very well because it seems so natural.
Yeah.
And I'm almost assured that it's not natural. He's just that good of an actor. Maybe somebody knows and can point out. But next we had. It was funny. This was a very weird match for us sitting here because for anybody else it was a super brutal match to watch, but for at least the first half of the match we could not stop laughing because you have Lars Sullivan come out to his cool ass intro where he looks so big and enormous and powerful, and then he gets up in the silhouette, and all you see is the outline of his ginormous body
and his huge ears.
And I'm like, okay, so who's coming out? Who's he gonna face next? Nobody comes out. Instead, the lights come on, and there's a dude in the ring. And I'm like, okay, dude in the ring. And I'm taking my notes, Lars Sullivan versus who's this guy? He doesn't even get a bar. He doesn't even get a name bar. There's no, and his opponent already in the ring. Nothing. So I wrote Lars Sullivan versus no name with no name card. No entrance.
He's got the name Walker written on the back of his shirt.
He has the name Walker. And this is such a short match that by the time we get done laughing, finally we kind of hear out of the corner of my eye that his name is Victor Orchint, or this is what they're calling him. Obviously his name is something Walker, because that's what's on his tights, is Walker. Unless he's pretending to be a zombie in some other federation. So, for the majority of this match,
or he just grabbed the wrong person's tights in the back, who knows.
Yeah, at the fact that this guy is so bad, he doesn't get an entrance, he doesn't get an announcement, he doesn't get a name placard, he doesn't even get his name mentioned on commentary until he's this close to being defeated. And then the match ends and well, no, the match didn't end in defeat. No. He was this close getting defeated, and then what happens?
EC3 comes out.
EC3.
EC3 came in, like, pretty much cleaned house. The forgotten Walker guy just
rolled away.
Rolled away.
In simulated defeat.
He wasn't even an enhancement talent. He
less than enhancement, less than jobber. He was a jobber's jobber.
He was the appetizer to the ham and eggs. You know, he was. Oh my god. I couldn't stop laughing at it because, like, I'm like, even Horowitz got a placard or whatnot, you know?
I'm pretty sure I missed the initial attack that EC3 did on not Aleister Black, but Lars Sullivan, because I was laughing so hard. He's sitting there rolling around on the outside of the ring, this Walker guy, and I'm just like, I mean, this. And then suddenly EC3 comes and. I guess they're still trying. Maybe he's still kind of being pushed as a face, but kind of a tweener. Because this was an attack from behind. Maybe he had to do it because, I mean, frick, it's Lars Sullivan. But it was an attack from behind. He knees Lars Sullivan in the back. They fight back and forth a little bit, but he gets the upper hand, knocks Lars out of the ring. But then Lars gets up and grabs him by the neck. And he's going to follow him in the ring carrying a choke slam. Or a pre-choke slam.
Yeah.
And then EC3 knocks the hand away and he knocks him back down. But then they end this with Lars Sullivan backing up the ramp, smiling. And I kind of get why Lars Sullivan is smiling, because he enjoys that kind of brutality, even if it's on himself or somebody else performing it on him. But then EC3 goes this goofy-ass smile.
Yeah,
trying to make fun of Lars Sullivan, maybe? I don't know. It looked weird to me.
I think he was trying to come off as crazy as Lars Sullivan was, but at the same time, it just came off as cheesy and hokey. You're trying to strike fear in the heart of them. You're not trying to, kill Batman.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It looked like a creepy clown smile, not a scary clown smile, a creepy clown smile. And hopefully, you know what the difference is, because to me, it's. I imagine that with the red hair that goes right around here, but then the big weird cheeks, and then the pointy chin, and then that big, you got to see the smile that he puts, and then you'll understand. It was kind of creepy. I'm not sure what they were going for because the smile was so creepy.
It was menacing, at least coming from him. From EC3.
Well, it was different coming from EC3. Yes,
EC3 just came off as forced and. I can't take him seriously with spray on tan.
Yeah. I was asking him, I was like...
Is he white? Is he black?
White? Is he half and half? Is he mixed?
No,
or is that just a base tan and then a lot of spray on tan?
Yeah.
He is dark. And he's like, no, he's white. He's I guess I could get that dark. And people think that, no.
No,
so he does start... He does start a little darker than me.
Yes, he actually has the ability to tan and not to burn.
Maybe he's a little more Mediterranean.
Yeah.
But so that was that, and that was the end of that. So I thought for the most part it went well. At least it wasn't your typical squash match.
Yeah.
And they did precede the match with a vignette or a video package short about Lars Sullivan attacking EC3 after EC3 basically said, it makes sense that Lars Sullivan attacked Aleister Black. Of course, Aleister Black's storyline, without him there, is still kind of the main focus.
That's what I'm loving about this, is the fact that they're not making it like the main storyline, but at the same time, it's always in the back of your mind. Well, what if this person...
It interweaves throughout episodes. It interweaves from show to show to show to show.
And nobody's actually saying the same person. Like that's the cool thing about it. Like I said, I have my suspicions on who did it. But
and we're going to get to that.
And we're going to get to that here in a little bit. But the fact that everybody is a suspect at this point, that actually, by this time even on most of the shows and whatnot, I can actually have a good prediction on who is doing it and be right.
I tell you what, though, the prediction that we're gonna that you called that I think I saw the same look in his face that you saw.
Yeah.
And when you said that and I thought back on it, it made sense to me. And we're gonna get to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's our cliffhanger. I don't know how far down it. That might be almost next. Yeah, that is almost next.
Yeah.
Because we had a graphic for the Street Profits versus the Mighty. I thought the match was coming up next. It wasn't. But up next was an interview backstage with William Regal.
Yeah.
About, you know, any updates on the Aleister Black, blah, 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 and he's about to go into his office, and then who should come out of his office but Nikki Cross.
Yeah, Nikki Cross came out.
How was Nikki Cross alone in William Regal's office? What was she doing in there? There's a story that we could tell you from where we work at that would be hilarious to compare possibly why Nikki Cross. He's getting it. He's getting it right now. What possibly why Nikki Cross? If you follow me on Twitter, or if you've got me on Facebook, or if you've got me on my YouTube channel, Aftermatch Wrestling, follow me on Twitter. You can go to just go to nodq.com/Stefan. That should be my Twitter. If you follow me on Twitter, direct message me if you want to know the inside story here, but I'm not going to put that on the video. I do not think it's appropriate. But I just thought I'd mention that because we didn't talk about that during the show, but I knew it was going to make him laugh.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I don't know why she was in his office, but she comes out and basically in her crazy Nikki Cross way, she asks for a rematch with Bianca Belair.
She says she wants more. Just like Bianca was saying. So,
but then she says in her broken Nikki Cross language that she knows. She knows. And the interviewer asks William Regal, "Do you think she means that she knows who attacked Aleister Black?" And Regal responds with, "She's like she could know where Bigfoot is or where to find the Loch Ness Monster." But nobody knows what Nikki Cross knows.
Yeah.
And he gives her this strange look as she walks away. And obviously by this point, she's got to be well down the hallway. Mm-hmm. But he's still looking at her with this strange look. And this brings us to...
pretty much, I'm thinking William Regal's the one that attacked Aleister Black.
Yeah, and I don't know why. I mean, they would have to write a really great reason why. But based off of the look he gave her... when she said she knew,
and
I see where he's coming from.
What also with me was the fact that, like, granted it was in Regal's office and everything, but the golden Nux sitting proudly on the desk.
I almost forgot that. Yeah,
like that's what kind of sold it to me, is the fact that those Nux were sitting right there, almost to say, it's like I'm totally getting away with.
Yeah,
this.
I'm totally telling everybody because these interviews have been going on for several weeks.
And is it like? Motive-wise, it could be A, he just didn't see Aleister Black as a viable champion.
Maybe.
Or B, there's like that, like, it could lead into Regal coming back into the ring for another match.
It could. There could be some...
Between the two of them, because I remember Aleister as Tommy End, and he's just a phenomenal wrestler top to bottom, and I think him and Regal would have a superb match.
Maybe. It depends on the ring shape that Regal's in at his age. I'm not so sure. I'm always keen to be wary of older wrestlers getting back into the ring for two reasons. One, for their safety, because they're getting older. Their bodies can't handle the same things that they could as their younger selves, and they can't do as much. And yet, for entertainment purposes, they might be asked to do stuff that they can't do, and their pride would get them to try it and hurt themselves.
Yes.
And for second, the entertainment value, because they're so old, is it really worth putting somebody of the level of name value as William Regal back into the ring to risk them getting injured? Like, I don't think there's enough entertainment value there.
Yeah, that's the only thing that really bothers me about it, is the fact that Regal's getting up there in years. Yes, he's not nearly as, strong or, he
doesn't have the same vitality.
No, he doesn't.
There you go.
And in order for that feud to really end and whatnot, it'd have to be something like a dog collar match, or maybe some sort of like British street fight kind of thing.
Something where it doesn't have to be suplexes and high spots.
It
ground based by necessity.
It would have to be some form of hardcore match, and with those kind of matches, especially with the WWE product's not really having much blood or anything to them anymore, if any.
Yeah.
Like,
they're not as cool.
Like,
there's no satisfaction in getting busted over the head 80 times. Well, they don't even get busted over the head anymore.
No.
You can't put even a trash can that dents in immediately. You can't put anything over anybody's head. So yeah, I understand that.
Because you can't even, like, even the aluminum cans and whatnot, I just can't buy into. And, like, I know the Nux would be involved and whatnot, but at the same time, like, and I can see that being a vital part of the match if they do.
That's how it would have to end.
Like, the Nux would definitely come into play.
Either Regal would use them successfully, or he'd try to use them, they'd get taken away, and, well, I don't see Aleister Black would just take him away and kick him in the face.
Yeah.
Or maybe he goes for the punch like this, but then Aleister Black kicks him in the hand and makes him punch himself in the face.
Credit yourself.
That is inspired. So if you're watching this Triple H and you were planning on Aleister Black versus William Regal, that's how you end the fucking match.
Yes.
That's how you end the fucking match. He's up here, yeah, I'm gonna knock you out. And then because he's turned around, but he doesn't turn around. Instead, he goes for the Black Mass. Bam, right there.
Yep.
So after that, we did finally have the Mighty versus the Street Profits. Of course, the Mighty, that's former Team 6-1,
yeah,
versus the Street Profits. And we had a nice little conversation about the Street Profits because I mentioned that they looked very different. They're about the same height. They're kind of the same build, but you got one guy that's a little like us, a little doughier, and then you got the other guy that is super cut.
Yeah.
I mean, he looks like like if you took Ricochet and put him in a taffy stretcher and made him just so much taller, but they work well together.
Yeah, you had the I wouldn't say really power moves, but like he actually like had a lot of strength to his moves and everything. But then you have I'm trying to remember both their names.
I can't remember either name. I just call them the Street Profits.
But
sometimes there's too many wrestlers to remember all their names when you can just remember the name of the tag team.
I was too busy to actually enjoying the match to really register their names at that point.
Well, I think the problem is when they come out, they don't have individual names and then the tag team name. They just have the tag team name. So we don't actually get to make notes of the original or their actual names unless they say them. But then you miss them or you misspell them. And
they said it a lot during the match, and I felt bad about not writing them down. But at the same time, like I said, I was actually really into this match
it was a good match.
It was like the dynamics were both there. Both teams were evenly matched, and it could have been one of those messy finishes and whatnot.
Yeah, it looked like the Street Profits were on it to win, and then the only way that the Mighty were going to win was some screwiness,
some shady stuff.
But we ended up with a clean victory.
Clean victory from the Mighty.
He did kind of this. It was like almost a figure four. It was like an inverted what's the word for it? An inverted
it's like a cradle is what it was.
Well, it was a jackknife roll up, but before he did the jackknife, he put the legs in not a figure four. Well, would have been a figure four if he'd used his legs.
What kind of figure?
What's it called? Sheamus does it. I can't think of the name. It was Dean Malenko's finishing move, the clover.
Yeah,
the clover leaf. It looked like an inverted clover leaf, but then he jumps over and turns it into a jackknife pin, and he pinned him. I was really enjoying this. I actually really enjoyed the Street Profits for the first time in a while. Normally their gimmick kind of gets in the way for me. I don't really enjoy the match so much, but they were very athletic in this match, and even the thicker guy, the chunky guy. Awesome drop kick. We both enjoyed watching him do things that we were like, oh well, he may be a little chunky, but he's got some vertical leap.
He got some air on the drop kick. It was very hardcore Holly-ish to the point that I'm like, wow, that's actually one of the best drop kicks I've actually seen.
I don't know if it was Randy Orton caliber, but it was
it was
for him and his physique. It was amazing.
I was about to say a standing drop kick from a guy that looks about that size, and it was a really crisp looking drop kick.
Yeah, you could see it from his tag partner, the cut guy, the lean guy. He was jumping all over the place. He looked like a bouncy ball You know, he's
that's
jumping out of the way, dodging shit, and
that's something we have to make mention of right there.
The diving, the suicide. It wasn't a suicide. It was a front leap, a forward flip over the top rope. Oh my god, so far.
Something very reminiscent of what Ricochet would pull off. This guy actually pulled off just as well too.
I think he actually cleared more distance away from the ring than Ricochet did. Yep. Of course, Ricochet was landing on his own feet.
Yeah.
And he didn't have somebody catching him, but it's still supremely impressive.
But I was also talking about the at one point where he ran across the apron and got tripped up and landed in between the two steps.
Oh yeah, that was something I've never seen before. Well, I've seen variations, but not like that.
Like
then the drop kick into the steps.
Drop kick into the steps afterwards. That kind of set up for the finish.
Yeah, because that was where his leg originally got injured, and that's why he wasn't able to kick out from that particular jackknife. So what happened was he's standing on the apron in the corner, and he gets kicked to where one leg goes out, but one leg stays close and gets trapped in between the ring apron and the steps. Now, we've seen this before with arms and a few times with legs, but this one was the full leg all the way up to the crotch, all the way down the center, and then drop kick from the Mighty into the steps. And yeah, that looked fucking brutal, man. Yeah, if his nut was caught in there, he was done for the night. He was done for the night, man.
I would have been done for the month.
Wow, jeez. I mean, that's what happened. Well, probably not the exact same thing, but Aleister Black, that's why he's out. Yeah. He got crotched in a house show match, and had to have. I think he had to have surgery. God, please, whoever's up there, do not ever let me suffer an injury where I have to have surgery to my junk. That's all I ask. No surgery to the balls, and I'm good. So next we had a women's match. We had Vanessa Bourne versus Kairi Sane, non-title. Yep. So who didn't see the finish of this match happening?
Oh, well, the second Vanessa Bourne. The second Vanessa kicked the pirate hat out of the ring. Well, first she put it on, and then made fun of Kairi's periscope and whatnot. And I was like, okay,
don't like the periscope.
No, he is like periscope.
I don't like the periscope. I don't like the steering wheel. I'm sort of okay with the hat. I don't like
the pirate gimmick has been done.
It's been done by better pirate gimmick people.
Yeah, I was about to say, Paul Burchill did a pirate gimmick, and it was okay, because he wasn't completely hammy with it. Yeah. Granted, he had the swing into the ring and everything.
I like the swing to the ring.
Yeah, the swing to the ring was awesome.
The swing to the ring.
But even then, it was just a bunch of him talking his cool British accent, doing his worst Jack Sparrow impersonation. But he didn't do anything
corny
in the ring.
No purposely kind of funny.
She plays too much.
She pulls out an invisible periscope during the match to look at her opponent when her opponent's right there, and it's just.
I think that was my problem with the match, where she had a mannerism for like every move she was doing. She's even for her elbow drop off the top rope. She's
this fun kooky pirate.
Yes,
she does everything.
Yar!
She takes time. She takes time on the top rope, which if she was a heel, she would never land the move, because she would always spend too much time on the top rope saluting or whatever she's doing. But she lands it and she wins. We knew she was going to win.
The thing is with that, is I actually kind of like that a little bit, because it kind of gave off a Macho Man Randy Savage type vibe for me. Okay. Because she gets an insane amount of air on the elbow drop.
I mean, nobody can argue that is a beautiful elbow drop, except for, and I will always mention this one, I believe it was her second match in the original Mae Young Classic. Go back and watch it. It might have been her third match. I think it was her second match. She completely fucking missed that elbow drop. And she was nowhere near far enough away for that to make sense. She should have nailed it. And she completely fucking... I don't remember where she hit. She didn't hit right at all, but she still got the pin. And from that moment, because the Mae Young Classic, I don't know if you guys have seen it. If you haven't, you should. The original Mae Young Classic was awesome. It's fucking awesome. 32 of the best female wrestlers you will ever see. So I've got high hopes for this year's too, but I'm not going to watch it till it's either over or until right before the final.
Like we established, that was my first match seeing her, so basically she left a bad taste in my mouth with all the mannerisms and the elbow drop. I can't take her seriously as a women's champion,
and that's my problem.
Right now, especially with WWE Evolution. Or NXT Evolution, that's going to be popping off here.
It's WWE, NXT, former WWE, past, present, future, everybody in between. They have to get every female they can because they still don't have enough females on the entirety of the main roster to fill an entire pay-per-view. They didn't have enough females to fill an entire Women's Royal Rumble, so what made you think that they were going to get through a women's pay-per-view without bringing NXT along and everybody they could from the past?
But that's where, like, right after the match, who shows up?
Shayna Baszler.
Shayna Baszler wanting her rematch.
And Shayna Baszler looks like a real champ. She acts like a real champ. She may be
rocking
a female
Rage
version of a dick,
t-shirt.
but she may be a prick, an asshole, a butthead, or whatever you want to call her. She may be like bad news kind of character, but she's legit. She's legit. She acts like a champ. My problem is, sure, you can have fun, kooky, funny gimmicks, and that's fine, but don't make them champ. And if you do make them champ, like hardcore champ, something that people don't take too seriously anyway. Don't make her female champ. Not in the I get it. She's a great wrestler. If she's that good of a wrestler, drop the fucking pirate gimmick, or at least tone it down. Tone it down to where it's just subtle. It's subtle, like Paul Burchell's was. The only thing that wasn't subtle about his was the swing entrance.
Yeah.
That was the only thing that was real, kind of weird. But I was okay with that because that was it. And it was still fun. I did like it. It was different.
He actually had the legitimate threat going on with him.
Oh, yeah. His finishing move, that Spanish fly, I had never seen it before. I thought it was great.
We were talking earlier about, like, devastating maneuvers, and like you mentioned the curb stomp.
Oh, yeah.
Like, back
that's current WWE only main roster. I feel like the curb stomp, if not the most devastating looking maneuver, certainly one of.
Yeah. Back in Paul Burchell's days of OVW, that was his finisher.
Oh, he did. Oh.
I don't
remember him going for that.
Oh,
to find out, he and I were at the same. It was an OVW. It was a local event at a Von Reno Starks Center in Elizabethtown. This was over a decade ago. Had to have been. Yeah, it was like 15 years ago, maybe.
Yep. It was a house show, maybe not even 150 people.
House show, and the main event was Paul Burchell versus Cody Rhodes, then Cody Reynolds, for the OVW Championship. And I'm sure he thought, I mentioned this, it's like, we know who's going to win. Cody's not going to win the championship here because it's not on TV. Sure enough, Cody Rhodes won. I got to witness Cody Rhodes win his first championship, singles championship, in a WWE organization. Because back then, OVW was essentially
the farming ground.
It went from OVW down to Florida, to Florida Wrestling, Florida FCW.
Even before then, there was OVW, then there was Deep South Wrestling.
Oh, yeah, Deep South. Gotcha.
That went to Florida Championship Wrestling, which eventually turned into NXT.
So, yeah, that was neat to find that out. Of course, we've known each other since, honestly, I've known you at least. You probably, I don't know if you're right, we lived in the same neighborhood. I've known him since I was like 6 or 7. He was the older brother of one of my sister's best friends. So, where are we at? We are at an interview with Keith Lee. And here is one of, getting back to what we talked about earlier, here's where they set up a future match between Keith Lee and opponent. And it didn't seem forced. It didn't seem as fluid as it probably would with better production. But it was good. It made sense. Now it makes sense for them to have a match. So we have Keith Lee being interviewed. And then he goes and ends up interrupting. Who was it? It was Kona Reeves. Kona Reeves, I guess, is in the back getting ready for an interview or getting ready for a photo shoot or something. and in comes Keith Lee, and of course Kona Reeves is a heel, so he's going to, oh, who are you, Keith whoever, and he makes fun of Keith Lee, but then Keith Lee challenges him back. Have you seen Keith Lee wrestle before?
No.
No? Okay. So there is some independent wrestling that you have not seen.
Yes.
Now, I've been looking forward to Keith Lee. I mean, of course, I've seen his first couple of matches, which, by the way, he mentions he is 2-0, and he is now, being 2 matches in 0, he is looking for a championship match.
Yes.
And I don't know. For him being Keith Lee, I feel like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But at the same time, anybody else, just 2 matches? I don't know if 2 matches, even if it's a 2-0 record.
He's coming off as almost like a black version of Bobby Roode.
So basically, instead of that, thank God, what we end up getting is a setup for a match between him and Kona Reeves. And I think this will be a good match. I've actually enjoyed Kona Reeves. My biggest problem with Kona Reeves, and you haven't seen him wrestle yet, or at least not on NXT, I know.
No.
His finisher is the Hawaiian drop. It's like a Samoan drop, but the opponent drops on their belly instead of their back. My problem with it is he doesn't do anything different than a Samoan drop. His opponent is the one that has to ensure that when Kona falls back, that the opponent lands on his belly. Kona doesn't do anything different, so I'm like, that just completely destroys all kayfabe for me. Now, if he tilted forward or something before he fell back to make it look a little different, like he's doing something to cause the person to land that way as opposed to a normal Samoan drop, then that's fine. You sir get to see what I'm talking about next week.
Yes, I do.
I'm hoping I don't bias you against his move, but I'm also kind of hoping you see what the fuck I'm talking about.
Oh, like I'm able to pick out a weak move like nothing. That or just one that you have to more or less oversell in order to even like make look even slightly devastating. And for what you're telling me about this, it's very lackluster.
Yeah, it's different. It to me it's better than it's a better idea, not in practice. It's a better idea than the powerbomb into off the ropes into the mat, even though that one was executed better.
Yeah.
Well, it was executed more perfectly.
Well,
it
didn't
have any pizzazz or anything, but
it sounds very atomic leg drop to me. Let's move on to the next.
Let's move on. So we are actually almost done. Next, we have an announcement, basically a graphic where next week we get to see EC3 versus Lars Sullivan. Now, you made the comment that they're giving this match away because this feud looks like it's pay-per-view caliber, but NXT doesn't have pay-per-views except every 3 months.
And that's something that I've already started to thoroughly enjoy about the company. It's the fact that like they take the time to establish a story. They give it more time to brew, more time for you to actually get invested in the wrestler,
regardless of whether it's going to be a pay-per-view match or an NXT TV match.
It could easily be like any match that I saw could easily be mid-card to main event, especially like we said the Ricochet Pete Dunne match.
Oh man, that could have main evented pay-per-view.
That's one of those situations where if that was even mid-card on WrestleMania, they'd walk backstage and be like, beat that.
Right? Yeah. And you wouldn't be able to, or at least not likely the next match would be able to, because it would fall in the mid-card because it is too
like
smaller guys.
There are so many, I'm sorry to harp back on that match, but there are so many near finishes.
Oh, it was beautiful. It was a beautiful match. Like I said, it was so fluid.
Yeah.
I don't mean to bias anybody on that match, but even just to form your own opinion, if you have not watched that match, go back and watch from last week, Pete Dunne versus Ricochet. We cannot say enough about that match. I kind of feel like we're going to end up talking about that match again before this video is over.
Hell, we'll be talking about next week.
We are finally on to the main event of this week's show, which was
Ciampa versus
Otis Dozovich, one half of Heavy Machinery. And this was a pretty good match. It didn't hold my attention like most Ciampa matches do, but I don't feel like it was meant to. No. I don't feel like it was meant to be a 5-star classic or anything, because it's one half of a tag team. that's not even in contention for the titles. This is basically kind of like a small mini feud to hold Ciampa in place so he can get, so he can look good. Because he won this match.
I think, if anything, is to show off more of his versatility as the champion.
That he can go up against somebody as freaking stout as Dozovic. This guy is as wide as he is. I'm telling you, from tip of finger to tip of finger, he might be wider than he is tall.
But it's also the fact that Ciampa, whereas he's like a student of the game, he's more pro wrestling based than anything else. And then you have him, who's like just amateur style, very smash mouth, just more likely he'll just pick you up by your leg and by your arm and just throw you over his head, which he did 3 times in a span of 30 seconds to Ciampa. Twice in the ring, once on the outside.
I feel like this might have been a special request match, either from Ciampa or maybe somebody in the back, that they're like, okay, well, we've seen Ciampa all these times against Johnny Gargano and guys of that size. Let's show him off against somebody with more power. In this case, not necessarily bigger because he's not taller, but definitely more power.
It was no Big Show Mysterio, but it was like, but it had that like element where it's like, we're gonna show that he can go up against anybody of any size and have a good match, or anybody of any style.
Yeah, I said Dozovic looks like a guy that probably couldn't run a marathon in the sand or anything. But he looks like he could pick up half a tree and throw it.
Like he'll pick up the palm tree that's in his way and chuck it into the ocean,
but then not be able to run up the beach.
No.
So this was a great match for what it was. I don't know if I would have. So this being the main event,
I'm with you in the sense that it didn't really hold my attention.
I did like the ending though.
The ending was beautiful. We actually were around the ending because, like, it's like
brutal looking.
Like,
well, the first of the
yeah.
So there was two draping DDTs, one from the inside to the apron on the outside, to the hardest part of the apron, and I say that with air quotes, but really it is the hardest part of the apron.
Oh yeah.
They just don't let you forget that every time it happens on the hardest part of the apron. Well, at some point we have a memory, and you can push back on that. I don't think they actually mentioned that here. They just called it the apron.
Well, yeah, he Mario at that point, God bless the guy, he was just so excited about everything else that was going on. He just said on the apron versus
Mauro Ranallo is just
versus the concrete-like side of the ring.
Yeah, I feel like maybe Michael Cole was in Mauro Ranallo's ear, and Michael Cole is getting tired of himself having to say the hardest part of the apron. So he's like, whatever you do, just call it the apron, not the hardest part of the ring. People are tired of that shit. They know it's the hardest part of the ring. You can look at it until it's the hardest. So there's a draping DDT to the apron on the outside. And then he picks him up and does the draping DDT inside. And his is so much more brutal looking than Randy Orton's, because there is no pulling into the ring and actually draping the ankles.
Or hesitation.
And it's more believable because when you pull them into the ring, they have to keep their legs taut in order to stay draped across the apron. The way Ciampa does it, he just teeter-totters them into the ring and drops them on their head.
It's very relaxed looking. It's very natural looking.
It's very brutal looking.
Yes, that's and the fact that like Otis was this close to the ring rope more or less, and he still didn't kick out, didn't even try to kick out or anything. He was done.
I was both in awe of how brutal the finish looked, but then I started chuckling because he is so close to the ropes that Ciampa has to worry about his arm going under the rope and causing a break of the count. But he has to pull back. He has to actually pull back and wrangle Dozovic's arm, because even though Dozovic is trying to lay limp, he's so wide that his arms won't stay by his side. They want to spread out. And all I could see in my head was the scene from A Christmas Story where his little brother's all wrapped up to go outside. He's like, I can't put my arms down.
Or just him on the ground. I can't get up.
I can't get up. So that was the ending of the match. At least it had a clear ending as opposed to last week's. It was. I don't think it was a classic match. In that vein, where would you put in your 5 star? How many stars out of your 5 stars does the general?
So I'd still say about 3.5.
3.5.
Like maybe it's just the fact that it's really late, and it's also the fact that
we're super tired.
It's not even that.
We're still geeked over the championship match from last week's episode.
Yeah, and we're
feeling generous.
Well, the fact that we're watching both these shows back to back. Okay, so it's one of these things where it's like going and seeing Ghostbusters for first time or something, and then like maybe like Freddy got fingered or some shit after that.
Oh, that was a terrible movie.
It was a horrible film.
I tell you, one of the worst movies. But I tell you what, the worst movie, in my opinion, I don't know if anybody's ever seen it. If you haven't and you want to see it because it's a terrible movie, otherwise don't see it because it is a terrible movie. The Sweetest Thing. You ever seen The Sweetest Thing?
I have.
With Cameron Diaz.
Cameron Diaz, Selma Blair, and
God, it was
Christina
horrible.
Applegate. Yeah.
It was so horrible. So my feeling is because I wasn't so engaged with this, it really didn't pull me in. I honestly don't remember too much of the match. It
was also non-title too, so there was really the only thing really to gain from it was Otis is actually establishing himself more a possible single star versus the tag match, because
he looked good.
He looked extremely good in the match,
and he was in a match with the NXT champion, so automatically that brings his stock up. Because he's so stalky. That was my pun for the night. I'm sorry.
Leave the bad puns to me, all right?
All right, I will leave the bad puns to you. Let's get our logo back.
The fact that like Tommaso was ready to just walk out of the match, and then like his tag partner to come up.
We forgot to mention that. So at one point, Ciampa decides to gather his title and leave, but then I can't remember his tag partner's name.
Otis's partner.
I can always remember Dozovich because it's such a cool name, because it sounds Dozer.
Yeah.
I can't remember his partner's name. I'll remember it on the fly at some point. I'll wake up at like 7 in the morning,
screaming
straight out of
name.
sleep. Oh, this is his name. I wish I'd have remembered that for the video. Damn me. So my feeling is that since it was not engaging at all up until the end, and that part a little bit, it woke me up when I'm like, oh, there's, but I start at 2.5 stars. I start dead even, and I'm going to give it a 0.5 star because of the ending. I really enjoyed those 2 draping DDTs, and the fact that it was an actual ending to a main event that we watched this evening. I'll give it 3 stars.
Yeah.
3 stars for me.
Yeah, we're about in agreement. It was an average match.
Yeah, like average. You give it a little high, I give it a little low.
Yeah, there's really nothing to lose and nothing to gain except for a little bit of experience,
a little bit of momentum,
and a little bit of momentum for a possible singles run for Otis.
Well, just and momentum for Ciampa as the champ. He needs to look credible. So give him a match. Make sure he looks good. Make sure he wins.
So where do you think that's going to lead from here for Ciampa? Who do you see him going up against possibly next?
Well, if it is WWE, even though it's branded NXT, so my guess is he faces the tag team partner in his next singles match. They'll do some backstage stuff where it's like, oh well, you beat him, but you can't beat me, or something like that. Yeah, and that'll be some more filler until. My guess is until Aleister Black comes back and they can insert him back into the title picture with Ciampa.
And that's gonna be the interesting thing, because that'll probably be also the culmination around the same time of who took out Aleister Black at the same time.
Yeah, so maybe we see Aleister Black come back. So let's do some predictions. We see Aleister Black come back. He gets his rematch for the championship against Ciampa at Survivor Series. Yes. Well, not Survivor Series, as NXT TakeOver LA.
Yeah.
And
which sounds so awesome.
So let's say Aleister Black is this close to winning. We still don't know who it was that attacks him, and Regal comes out.
Yeah.
Regal comes out. I'm sorry, I know I'm interrupting the match. let's say it's at a point where Aleister Black has got the match won. I know I'm interrupting, but I just found out or figured out or whatever who attacked you. Who? Regal hits him with the brass knucks. It was me, bitch. Ciampa covers him. 1, 2, 3.
I see something else happening in that. Regal does come out to the ring, starts jaw-jacking with the ref, and then, Aleister tries to, turn the ref's attention back to the match. Regal takes out the knucks, slides him into Ciampa for Ciampa to use to actually get the victory.
I like it. I like mine better. Maybe because it's mine, but I like the idea. I like the idea of actually culminating the investigation instead of just by chance now we figured out the end of the investigation. I like the idea of him coming out and teasing, oh, he's going to announce that it was Ciampa or something like that, but then the twist comes and no, bam, it was me.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it could still have been Regal that did the initial attack, but at the same time, he insult to injury, he tosses the knucks into somebody else to screw them out of actually getting the title back.
Well, no, that's what I'm saying. He hits Aleister Black during the title match.
Yeah.
And screws him out of the title. Okay, well, anyway, that's my little maybe prediction. I don't know if I'm going to... maybe I'll do an official prediction when it actually rolls around to the pay-per-view, but... for now, I think that's everything we've got to cover. Yeah, I don't want to go too much longer, but I do want to give you a chance to do your plugs. Twitter, Facebook, anything you want to plug?
No.
Don't follow him anywhere.
Don't follow me. I'll follow you.
He is the General Jerry Slaughter, and you can only see him and you can only experience him right here on NoDQ.com. Do not follow him. However, you can follow me. As I said earlier, you can go to NoDQ.com/Stefan. That's Stefan. That's where you'll find my Twitter page. You can find me on Facebook if you want to. I'm not really keen on adding people on Facebook because I like to have at least one social media site I can scroll through at work on break and not get spoilers for Raw or SmackDown that's going on because I'm working.
Yeah.
But definitely follow me on Twitter. You can find me on my NoDQ page, or not my, well, yeah, you can find me there, but you can find me on my YouTube page. I do have my own YouTube page, although I don't use it all that much. But if you want to communicate with me, you can do it there too if YouTube's all you have.
Or if you want to drop a line to me there too, we'll answer any of your questions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or address anything that you feel like we need to cover more from NXT, or if you have your own stories about NXT programs you may have seen, or theories on what's going on, we'd love to hear them.
Especially the ongoing storyline with who attacked Aleister Black. Put all your theories down below. Any comments, any questions, drop them down below. We want to hear from you guys. Like the video if you like the video. Subscribe to NoDQ.com if you like this video. If you like this video, you really need to check out Aaron Rift and his live videos after Raw and SmackDown. Check out the NoDQ review. You've got TJS, you've got Virtue, you've got Aaron Rift. Usually you'll have Big G, Jeff, or you'll have the NoDQ trivia champ, Greg Cherry. NoDQ review, trust me, that's where it's at. That's your one every week. The NoDQ news of the week, and I'm pretty sure that went up Wednesday, yesterday, probably at the point that you're going to be watching this. Go to NoDQ.com for all your latest news and rumors. Anything leading up into the next what's the next pay-per-view? It depends on what you consider a pay-per-view. Either it's going to be the Super Showdown in Australia, which is a glorified Saturday house show, or it's going to be the Evolution, which is a women's pay-per-view. It's going to be the Crown Jewel, which is the overseas in the middle of the Middle East.
They've got
beautiful city of wherever in Saudi Arabia.
They've got so many different programs going on right now.
3 pay-per-views in the next month and a half, I think, or in at least the next 2 months. So it's a lot. But for all your news on any of the pay-per-views, all of the latest, go to NoDQ.com. Go to Pro Wrestling Tees for all of your NoDQ t-shirt merchandise. I have a shirt. You can buy it if you want to. I would love to see somebody walking around with my shirt on. That would be really cool. But honestly, that's the best way to support NoDQ. Go to Pro Wrestling Tees, search for NoDQ, and you'll find all the shirts. You got Cindy, you got TJS, you got Kayfabe Candy S, you got Virtue in his shirts. You've got Greg Cherry and the PA Sensation. You've got Aaron Rift and his No DQ video shirts. Go buy a shirt. It's the best way to support Aaron and support NoDQ.com. Until next time, hopefully next week, same time, same place, same NXT show. Well, new NXT show.
We're going to find some sort of closing lines.
Yeah, we're going to figure out how to sign off without sounding like I'm rambling for the last 5 minutes of the show. For the General, Jerry Slaughter. For the Wizard of No DQ, Stefan Osborne. Thank you guys for watching, and hopefully we'll see you next time.